Growth for chosen ones is never a comfortable process, and it always comes with sacrifice, separation, and difficult decisions that shape the direction of their lives. One of the first things that begins to change is the environment around them. As awareness increases and purpose becomes clearer, certain places, people, and habits no longer align with who they are becoming. What once felt normal starts to feel limiting. What once felt acceptable begins to feel draining. This shift is not accidental. It is a natural part of transformation. Sacrifice often begins with relationships. Not every connection is meant to grow with you into your next season. Some people are connected to your past identity, not your future self. As you grow, you may notice distance forming between you and certain individuals. Conversations may feel less meaningful. Values may begin to clash, and emotional connection may weaken. This can be painful because human nature naturally holds onto familiarity even when it is no longer healthy. But growth requires releasing what cannot evolve with you. Separation is not always a choice that feels easy. Sometimes you are forced into it through circumstances, misunderstandings, or life changes that naturally create distance. Other times, you must consciously decide to walk away from environments that are affecting your peace, focus, or spiritual well-being. These decisions often require courage because they involve stepping into the unknown without guaranteed comfort or immediate replacement. However, remaining in environments that restrict growth can delay purpose significantly. Discipline becomes another important requirement during this stage. As distractions increase, chosen ones must learn to control their focus, emotions, and habits. Discipline is not about perfection. It is about consistency in the direction of growth. It means choosing long-term purpose over short-term comfort. It means saying no to things that feel easy but lead nowhere. It also means staying committed to personal development even when motivation is low. During this process, loneliness often becomes a familiar feeling as old connections fade and new ones have not yet fully formed. There can be seasons where you feel like you are walking alone. This is one of the most misunderstood parts of growth. Many people interpret loneliness as abandonment, but in reality, it is often preparation. In moments of isolation, awareness increases. You begin to understand your thoughts more clearly, recognize your weaknesses, and strengthen your inner foundation without external influence. Walking alone also removes dependency on validation. When there are fewer voices around you, you begin to rely more on inner guidance than external opinions. This strengthens confidence in your decisions and reduces the need for approval from others. While it may feel uncomfortable at first, this independence becomes a powerful foundation for future stability. Sacrifice also includes letting go of old versions of yourself. Growth is not only about changing surroundings, but also about changing identity. Certain beliefs, habits, and emotional responses that once defined you no longer serve your higher direction. Releasing them requires self-awareness and willingness to evolve. This internal transformation is often the most difficult because it challenges how you see yourself. Despite the difficulty, every sacrifice made in the name of growth creates space for something greater. Every separation clears room for alignment. Every disciplined choice strengthens character. Every moment of loneliness builds resilience. What feels like loss in the moment is often the foundation of future expansion. Growth is not a single event. It is a continuous process of refining, releasing, and rebuilding until you become aligned with the purpose you were created for. Another profound truth about the journey of chosen ones is that they are assigned to break generational chains that have existed long before they were born. These chains are not always visible, but they influence patterns of behavior, thinking, relationships, emotional health, and even financial conditions within families. Sometimes these cycles are repeated so often that they begin to feel normal, even though they are harmful. But chosen ones are placed in families not only to live within these patterns, but to interrupt them. Generational chains can take many forms. In some families, it may be cycles of poverty where opportunities are limited and survival becomes the main focus. In others, it may be emotional suppression where feelings are never expressed and pain is carried silently from one generation to the next. Some families experience repeated patterns of broken relationships, abandonment, addiction, or unresolved trauma that quietly passes through time without healing. These patterns often continue simply because no one has had the awareness or strength to stop them. Chosen ones often become the first in their line to feel a deep discomfort with these cycles. Even from a young age, there is an inner resistance to accepting this is just how things are. While others may adapt to the environment, chosen ones often question it. This questioning is not rebellion for the sake of conflict. It is awareness of something greater. There is an inner knowing that life can be different, even if no one around them has demonstrated it yet. Breaking generational chains requires awareness first. You cannot change what you do not recognize. Many chosen ones begin to see patterns in their family history that others overlook or accept. They notice emotional wounds that are never addressed, communication styles that create distance, or repeated struggles that seem to pass from one generation to another. This awareness can feel heavy at times because it brings responsibility. Once you see the pattern, you cannot fully ignore it anymore. The next step in breaking these chains is choosing a different path. Even when it feels uncomfortable or unfamiliar, this often requires going against expectations or breaking traditions that are unhealthy, even if they are deeply rooted. It may involve setting boundaries where none existed before, seeking healing in areas that were ignored, or learning new ways of thinking and living that were not modeled in your environment. This process can feel lonely because change is often misunderstood by those who are still connected to old patterns. One of the most challenging aspects is that chosen ones may not always receive immediate support from their surroundings. When you begin to change cycles, some people may not understand your decisions. Others may feel threatened by your growth because it highlights what they have not addressed within themselves. However, breaking chains is not about approval. It is about transformation. You are not called to repeat what was handed down to you. You are called to rewrite it. Over time, your decisions begin to create new pathways that others can follow. Even if they do not acknowledge it immediately, your growth introduces possibility into your family line. You show that healing is possible. You show that change is possible. You show that limitations are not permanent. What once felt normal begins to shift because someone had the courage to step outside the cycle. Breaking generational chains is not a single moment. It is a continuous process of growth, healing, and discipline. It requires strength to keep choosing a better path even when it is difficult. But every step you take away from old patterns becomes a step forward for future generations. Your life becomes the turning point where history begins to change direction. One of the most misunderstood aspects of a chosen one's journey is the intensity of spiritual attacks they face throughout life. These attacks are not always visible in a physical sense, but they show up in patterns of struggle, emotional pressure, sudden betrayals, confusion, delays, and repeated battles that seem to come from nowhere. At times, it can feel like life is constantly testing your strength in ways that others do not experience. This is because the presence of purpose in your life creates resistance in the spiritual realm long before it becomes visible in the physical world. When you are carrying something significant, opposition often appears early. Many chosen ones notice that their struggles begin at a young age. While others may experience smoother paths or fewer emotional disruptions, chosen ones often face instability, misunderstanding, or situations that force them to mature quickly. These experiences are not random. They are part of a pattern that shapes resilience, awareness, and inner strength. The intensity of your battles often reflects the importance of your future impact, even if you cannot see it yet. Spiritual attacks are often designed to create confusion. Confusion is one of the most powerful tools used to weaken direction and clarity. There are moments when you may have questioned your decisions, doubted your path, or felt unsure about your identity and purpose. You may have felt as if things were falling apart without explanation, or that progress was constantly being delayed. These seasons are often the result of pressure designed to distract you from your calling. When clarity is clouded, people tend to give up more easily, and that is exactly what resistance tries to achieve. Another form of attack comes through relationships. Some connections in your life may have started with trust, but ended in betrayal or disappointment. These experiences can feel deeply personal, but they often serve a larger purpose. Not every connection is meant to stay in your life forever. Some people enter your journey to teach lessons, reveal hidden strengths, or push you toward independence. When those relationships end painfully, it is often because they were never meant to carry you into your next level of growth. What feels like loss is sometimes a protection in disguise. Emotional pressure is also a common form of spiritual attack. There may be times when you felt overwhelmed, isolated, or mentally exhausted without a clear reason. These emotional waves can make you question your strength and your progress. However, many of these experiences are designed to test endurance. If your spirit can survive emotional pressure and still remain committed to growth, it becomes stronger and more aware of its own resilience. What makes chosen ones different is not the absence of attacks, but their ability to continue standing despite them. Every challenge you survived added depth to your character. Every betrayal increased your discernment. Every delay taught patience. Even when it felt like nothing was working in your favor, unseen development was taking place within you. Strength is often built in silence, in moments where no one is watching and no recognition is given. The existence of spiritual attacks is not meant to discourage you. Instead, it is evidence that your life carries significance beyond ordinary understanding. Resistance only appears where there is potential. The greater the assignment, the stronger the opposition tends to be. And the fact that you are still here, still growing, and still moving forward despite everything you have faced is proof that something within you is protected, guided, and prepared for a purpose that has not yet fully unfolded. One of the greatest responsibilities placed upon chosen ones is the mission to awaken others. This assignment is not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it happens quietly through your presence, your endurance, your wisdom, and the way you continue standing after surviving difficult seasons. God places a certain light inside chosen people, and that light naturally exposes darkness around them. Even when you are silent, people feel something different about your spirit. Some are inspired by it, while others become uncomfortable because your energy forces them to confront truths they have been avoiding. Throughout your life, you may have noticed that people often came to you during their hardest moments. Strangers opened up to you unexpectedly. Friends sought your advice during emotional battles. Even people who ignored your value eventually returned looking for guidance or peace. That is not coincidence. Chosen ones carry spiritual influence that draws wounded souls toward healing. God uses your experiences to speak life into people who feel hopeless. The painful seasons you survived were never only about you. Every betrayal, every rejection, every lonely night, and every emotional battle became part of the testimony that would one day help awaken someone else. People connect deeply with those who have survived real pain. Your scars carry wisdom. Your endurance carries authority. When you speak from experience, people listen differently because they recognize authenticity in your spirit. Awakening others also means challenging people to rise higher. Many individuals remain trapped in fear, excuses, addictions, toxic relationships, or limiting beliefs because nobody ever showed them another way to live. But chosen ones enter environments carrying a different mindset. Your growth challenges stagnant people. Your discipline exposes laziness. Your faith exposes fear. Your peace exposes chaos. Without even trying, your life becomes a mirror that reflects truth back to others. This is one reason why some people react negatively toward chosen ones. Not everyone wants to awaken. Some people are comfortable living in denial, distraction, or spiritual darkness. Your presence disrupts that comfort. When you refuse to participate in negativity, manipulation, gossip, or destructive habits, it forces others to recognize their own behavior. Instead of changing themselves, some will criticize you to protect their own comfort zones. There were moments when you felt isolated because very few people truly understood your perspective. That isolation often happens because chosen ones think differently from the majority. You are guided by purpose rather than temporary approval. While others chase validation, you search for meaning. While others focus only on appearances, your spirit seeks truth. This difference can make relationships difficult because not everyone is prepared for the depth you carry inside. God also uses chosen ones to remind people that transformation is possible. Many individuals believe their pain defines them permanently. They believe failure, trauma, or mistakes can never be overcome. But when they see someone who survived darkness yet continues walking with strength, hope begins to awaken inside them again. Your survival becomes proof that God still restores broken people. Sometimes your mission will require speaking difficult truths. Other times it will require silent endurance. There will be seasons where simply refusing to give up becomes an act of spiritual leadership. People are watching your life more closely than you realize. The way you handle pressure, betrayal, failure, and adversity teaches lessons words alone cannot teach. Awakening others is not about perfection. Chosen ones are not flawless people. They are people who continue growing, healing, and seeking God despite their struggles. That honesty gives others permission to believe they can rise too. Your mission is not to save everyone, but to become a living example that light still exists in a world filled with confusion and darkness. From the very beginning of your life, there were signs that you were different, even if nobody around you understood it. While others seemed to move through life naturally fitting into groups, you often felt separated, misunderstood, or emotionally distant from the people around you. You tried many times to blend in, to think like everyone else, to follow the same path as others, but something inside you always resisted ordinary living. That inner feeling was not weakness. It was the mark of purpose resting on your life. God never designed chosen ones to live completely comfortable inside environments that limit spiritual growth. Many people thought your struggles were punishment, but they were actually preparation. Every painful season carried hidden lessons that were shaping your spirit. The rejection you experienced was teaching you independence. The betrayal was teaching discernment. The loneliness was teaching you how to depend on God instead of people. At times, you wondered why life felt heavier for you compared to others. You watched people around you make careless decisions while still appearing successful, while you faced resistance even when trying to do the right thing. What you did not realize was that greater purpose always requires greater preparation. God often separates chosen people before elevating them. Separation is uncomfortable because humans naturally desire connection and acceptance. But heaven understands that too much attachment to the wrong people can destroy destiny. Some relationships had to end because they were distractions from your assignment. Some doors had to close because they would have trapped you in environments smaller than your calling. Even the delays in your life were protecting you from entering seasons before you were spiritually ready. There were moments when you almost gave up on yourself because nothing made sense. You prayed for clarity, but received silence. You searched for answers, but found more confusion. Yet during those hidden seasons, God was developing strength within you that could not be learned through comfort. Diamonds are created under pressure, and chosen ones are shaped the same way. The pain was not there to destroy you. It was there to reveal what was already hidden inside you. One of the hardest parts about being chosen is carrying a vision that other people cannot see. Many around you judged your journey because they only saw the outside. They saw the waiting seasons, but not the spiritual growth happening within you. They saw your failures, but not the wisdom those failures created. People often misjudge chosen ones because purpose cannot always be recognized with natural eyes. Sometimes even your own family may fail to understand the direction God is leading you toward. The reason your spirit refuses to settle for mediocrity is because heaven placed something greater inside you. Deep down, you know you were not created simply to survive from day to day without meaning. There is a constant pull toward growth, transformation, and purpose. Even when you try to ignore it, the feeling returns stronger. That is because divine purpose cannot stay buried forever. God allows chosen ones to experience certain battles because those battles become part of their future strength. One day, the pain you survived will help someone else survive theirs. One day, your testimony will become proof that God can carry people through impossible seasons. Nothing you endured was accidental. Every chapter of your life has been building you into the person required for the assignment attached to your soul.